Oh boy.
I'll try to go back.
Dig your own grave and go by a tomb. She eat up the dick and she don't use a spoon. Hop in the foreign and then it goes zoom. She too attached, think I need me some room. Talk about my bro, but be out at noon. They dumped me until I broke out my cocoon. If I catch him lacking, your homie is doomed. We clean this block, 30 shots out the broom. Half piss to pop out like it's toast. Hit that bitch once and I gotta go ghost. She see I got power, now she do the most. Internet gangsters get mad, make a post. Bet you I win, but my back is the road. Rockin' off white, so she think I'm the Pope. I jumped in the water, I knew I would float. You think you the best, and I'm killing the goat. Niggas was broke, all we had was hope. Bro hit the plug, all he had was dope. I get the last laugh if he think it's a joke. Say she got a friend, well I want them both. Ain't going to jail like me up in the booth. Talk out your mouth, then you might lose a tooth. Brody a scorer, all he know is shoot. I'm dropping the top, I think I lost my roof. Don't listen to him, he won't tell you.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Oregon State Dynasty. We're back at it right here with a recruiting episode following the big-time win, literally, over Arizona, 78-51. If you missed that episode, I'll tag it in the top right corner right here. If you like offense, you like points, this is definitely a game that you're going to want to watch. A bit of on the longer side, but that's just because when you have these back-and-forth track meets like that, there's so much stopping and starting, so that's why the video was a little bit longer than I usually try to make them, which is like 20 minutes, but it's all right. If you guys are entertained by it, you'll stay for the full 27. But back at it with recruiting, like I said. Shouldn't be too much going on this week because if you missed the last recruiting episode, go check that one out if you missed it. We had a lot going on. We had, I think, 10 guys commit over the 2 weeks that we did because we had the big visiting week, and then we had the bye week after that. So shouldn't be too much going on. Just kind of looking at updated numbers here before we advance the week. I did add a new crop of talent to the board. I'm still looking for maybe one or two skill position players, plus the guys that have been on there all season, Brian Stevens, Buck Ward, and the like. So we'll just kind of see how it goes. I'm just monitoring how we're looking on some of these guys I added to the board last week. Phil Ham is new, looking really good on him, 4-star wide receiver. Michael Chambers is new as well, already in first place for him. We just added him to the board. I really think I could go onto the recruiting board and get anybody I wanted. And when you win 5 consecutive national championships, I don't think there's any surprise as to why that might be the case. But I got to get a little bit selective here. We're running out of spots in the class. I think we only have like 6 or 7 left. And I have so many offensive guards on here. I only really need one more. I don't even think I need any, but I'd like to bring an offensive lineman every single class and just completely stack up that position. So I'm going to remove a couple of guys, as you guys saw. Here's another look at the scholarship distribution. So we have 7 spots to go. I don't want to spend all of those on offensive linemen. I want to fill a couple of needs I think we have, which are outside linebacker and then skill position talent, but more specifically wide receiver. We're going to have some guys leaving next season, plus maybe some juniors that might make the jump and go pro. So I want to have that position restocked and refilled for when we need it. You see the wide receiver position itself has a lot of bodies in there. Overall, it's a great group, but I still think we could add a big-time playmaker who could come in and make a difference in his first season, right? So looks like Kevin Gibson will be our next commitment there, that 3-star offensive guard at the bottom, and if he commits, I'm going to drop the rest of the offensive guards on the board because maybe I'll keep one more actually, but I just don't really need that many. I already have one committed, a bunch of tackles, plus the athlete who could play on the offensive or defensive line. I think Buck Ward, who we don't have yet, but if I get him, he's probably going to play offensive guard, right? So, I don't know. We have so many guys to play that position. I don't think we need all of them, so let's see how the numbers look going into next week, and we'll make some more decisions on that front. All right, let's see. Boom, there you have it. So look at that. 2 more offensive guards commit. So you got Kevin Gibson, the guy that we talked about, the 3-star. Buck Ward as well. He's an athlete, could play on the offensive or defensive line. It says he's projected to be a left guard. We'll see about that. And then Brian Stevens, the in-state 5-star, the future franchise quarterback of this team and definitely an NFL team. That guy's an absolute stud. I don't like to go after 5-stars typically because Oregon State doesn't get 5-stars literally ever. But as the best team in the state, we have to get the best player that's in the state, probably the best prospect that's been available in the state of Oregon in decades. Definitely since we've taken over that job, 6, 7, 8, however many years ago it was. So we had to get Brian Stevens. We did just that. Big-time coup for us. Big-time pickup. He'll be the future quarterback of this team. He could play anywhere in the field, though. The guy's an insanely good player. Probably why he's a 5-star recruit. I'd be curious to know how many 5-star recruits there have actually been in real life out of Oregon, especially recently. I feel like there haven't been that many. I feel like they plucked talent from California, Washington, everywhere else around there. So here's a look at our newest commitments. So Kevin Gibson, 6'2", 316 out of Alaska, which is pretty unique, and I like that. Edgar Haas, our starting tight end, absolute stud, also from Alaska. But this guy's pretty good. Underrated recruit, definitely a project. He'll come in redshirt, probably play as a redshirt junior or senior. Buck Ward, really excited about him. 6'6", 267, 4-star athlete from New Jersey. He can play on the defensive or offensive line. He's got good speed, as you can see, 64, 86, 83 tackle, 85 hit power. You can't see his offensive lineman numbers, but it says he projects to be a 72 overall left guard. So I don't know. When the time comes, we'll see what he can play. We could use him on either line. I don't really care. As long as we get him committed first, then we can make that decision. Also had an offer from Texas A&M. Here's the 5-star Brian Stevens, 6'3", 203 from Cottage Grove, Oregon. Not really sure where that is in comparison to Corvallis. If any of you Oregon people know, you can let me know. 84 speed, 84 excel, 87 throw power, 79 accuracy. You could have played receiver too, 78 catching, 76 route running. Guy's an absolute baller. I'm sure he would have had offers from all of those teams if there wasn't some low lock cheese, but I was in on this guy from day one. It's not like I just added him to the board yesterday, right? So I don't consider this cheating at all, and like I said, I never ever go after 5 stars. He's a 5-star. Edgar Haas was a 5-star. Those are the James Parker may have been one as well, but he was like 73 overall. So I don't want to hear anything about how I only go after 5 stars because I barely have any. The fact that I remember which guys are specifically 5 stars should tell you everything that you need to know. But I'm leaving. I don't know. This is a tough decision because Gibson's an offensive guard. We have one other guy in the class committed that's a guard. We could still potentially bring in one more offensive lineman. We have 7 spots left still, apparently. It should be 4, right? That's confusing to me. It should be like 4 because 6 to 20 are all the commitments, right? That's 14, 15 guys. An 18-person class. We have like 3 spots left in there. So yeah, we have to cut this offensive guard, both of them actually, because we're all good there. We have Yancey, we have Chambers, and Phil Ham. So my 2 positions of need, we have guys 4. And actually, Chambers is ready to visit already. We literally just added this dude to our board last week, and now he's already coming in on a visit 2 weeks later, which is wild. So 3 spots left. We have 2 outside linebackers and the wide receiver on there. If we can just finish up with those 3 guys, that would be perfect. But you're looking at the top recruiting class in the nation, headlined now by Brian Stevens. We have a good amount of 4 stars as well. I think 6 or 7 right there. And then solid amount of 3 stars too. But the 3 stars are typically guys that I think will be absolute dogs in the future, and that's usually how it works out. Let's go look at their updated 40 times and squat and bench numbers. So for Buck Ward, 420 on the bench, 580 on the squat. Great numbers. I expect that out of a guy that wants to play in the trenches. He also runs a 4.940, which isn't that bad for a guy his size. He's 267. I've seen bigger guys as big as that run faster than that, but we're not asking him to do that, so I don't really care. Kevin Gibson, the Alaskan, 380 on the bench, 570 on the squat, and I think I missed Stevens, but he's his 40 times up there. His bench and squat numbers are good as well. You guys probably saw them. So Brian Stevens, really excited about him. He could end up being one of the best quarterbacks we've had in school history. We've had some really good ones. Shane Austin, Lee McGee, who was the first one? Bryson Lewis, of course. Those are the 3 I think that I've had in this dynasty so far. They've all been really good. He could end up being better than all of them. But Eric Copeland, we got a great quarterback right now. Shoot. NCAA Player of the Week, Pac-12 Player of the Week, 435 passing yards, 8 total touchdowns. He did have 2 interceptions, but we'll clean that up. His best game as an Oregon State Beaver. If you've been seeing the stats before the games, they keep showing Quentin Brown, who's our backup for what he did when he was injured. Now he's the headliner of the group in passing yards. Big game for John McConnell as well. Certainly going to help his Heisman stock. Over 100 yards. Also was a threat as a receiver. Had at least 2 receiving touchdowns. I think it was only 2. But over 100 yards on the ground as well. So he had a big-time game. And we're still in first atop the Pac-12 North. 6-0, 3-0 in conference. Have yet to play a divisional team. And that's not going to change next week. We take on Utah as we take a look at the Pac-12 South. They're in 5th. USC back on top in the South. 4-2, 3-2 in conference. But I'm really looking forward to getting into Pac-12 North Division play because they're tough. Stanford's always tough. California can usually score some points on us. Washington State looks really good this year. And as always, there's Oregon at the end of the year. So it should be really fun. We're back to number 1 in the top 25. You guys probably already saw that if you've been keeping an eye on the ranking on the homepage. as we should be. I think Penn State must have lost because they're not even number 2 anymore. So that's how it should have been. We're the number 1 team in the nation. We just won a game scoring 78 points, and our defense could not possibly play worse at all this entire season. Let's look at the NCAA stats, though. We're not really in the top 5 or 10 for anything, but, we got some guys up there. Tackles, we're usually up there, and we are. Jude Watkins, Atkins, 1, 2, 3. And Aaron Bates, 4th in the country with 6 sacks. Interceptions-wise, Patton's got 2, so he should have like 10. The dude just dropped so many interceptions. It's insane. But, all right, with all that out of the way, let's finish up with drip of the day. And I had some trouble picking this week's winner. I had some issues with who we should pick because when I'm going through the position groups here, we didn't really get a chance to get the backups in the game this week because it was pretty close the entire game. And, if our starting defense is giving up 50 points, how is our backup defense going to do any better, right? So I finally decided to settle on Matt Thomas. He is a backup middle linebacker on our team, and he's just kind of been waiting in the wings to get his opportunity to start. He's made some big tackles on special teams, just absolutely blows dudes up, and he's played a little bit with the backups, so I'm really excited about him. I did a recruiting episode on this guy a couple of seasons ago. I'll tag it right here. I compared him to Devin Bush. He certainly has that build and that playing style, so once it comes time for him to be the starter in the middle of this defense, he's certainly going to ball out, so we're going to give him drip of the day this week. Hopefully in the future, we have some easier picks because I had absolutely no idea who to give it to this time around. And that'll just about do it for this week's recruiting episode. Like I said, not a whole lot going on. We did get 3 more commitments, though. Buck Ward, Kevin Gibson, and Brian Stevens, the newest members to our class, which is the top class in the nation. And we're just going to continue to keep rolling on. Next game we got is a home game, final Pac-12 South Divisional crossover game against the Utah Utes. Hope you guys are excited for that one. Be sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on the bell for the post notifications because I'll be posting a lot in the next 2 weeks. Pretty much every day I'll be doing live video content as well, so you're not going to want to miss any of that. We'll see you guys in the next episode returning back home to Corvallis to take on Utah.